Welcome back, internet friends. A little while ago, I made a video for you guys called The Restaurant Apocalypse. Well, today I want to give you the sequel to that movie, The Restaurant Apocalypse 2, Doomsday. Just look at this empty Irvine Spectrum Mall. 6 months ago, these chairs and patios would be filled with lunch customers. Some restaurants here have already failed, unable to pay the high mall rents. All the restaurants that are open have strange new rules. Don't stand here, don't sit there, don't go to the restroom. So I took my girlfriend on a date recently. We heard my favorite Mexican restaurant was doing dine-in. Ecstatic to see us, the owner told us we can eat there, but it has to be in the corner and the food has to be served in to-go containers. This authentic Mexican food is really meant to be served on a nice hot plate, and it just wasn't the same in an aluminum pan. Then I took my girl to Yogurtland, because that's always fun, right? Well, things change. There's no more free samples. They had way less flavor choices. You don't get to make it yourself. They have to put it together for you with your directions, so everything takes longer, and you gotta keep a mask on. These rules and changes really kill the whole customer experience for us. We enjoyed it, but I knew our dates wouldn't be the same as they used to be, and it's probably better just to eat at home most of the time. In our first Restaurant Apocalypse video, I discussed how changing trends were really affecting the restaurant industry. Young people didn't care about sitting down in a restaurant for as long as the older generation that was passing away. Millennials were choosing fast casual restaurants rather than sit-down dine-in places, and this was really hurting old restaurants, mom and pop places like my old home, Claim Jumper. Since that video, we had seen even more trend evolution. Not only were dine-in, sit-down restaurants almost completely dead before this COVID thing happened, but the trend had shifted. At least in Southern California, we have had so many new apartments built up in Orange County, Southern Los Angeles, San Diego counties. All these new apartments were being invested in and purchased by Chinese investors as well as some Middle Eastern investors. If you're a DoorDasher in Southern California, I'm sure you've been to some of these apartments. It was almost my exclusive job to deliver poke bowls and noodles to these fancy high-rise apartments, and those apartments would be filled with one lonely college student from China. I learned from talking to these kids that their parents actually told them America is too dangerous to go outside. They were told if they're going to school in Southern California to stay in their fancy apartments and use all the parents' money they need to order delivery so that the parents don't have to worry about the kid going outside and getting killed on their way to get a poke bowl. But as we've seen with COVID, a lot of these students have gone home because the schools are closed and their parents most likely want them home. On top of that, all this Chinese investment that's come in is also pulling back their money. So all of the restaurant trend, at least in my local county, changed. The last 2 years, small taco places became noodles, dumplings, shabu shabu, poke bowls, boba drinks, fancy teas, stuff that Asian customers were ordering. And now all those restaurants are losing their customer bases. So before the lockdown even started, there was a crazy trend shifting, and a lot of old restaurants closed and were bought as new restaurants, remodeled, made into new concepts that were fulfilling Asian food demand in Southern California. One thing about all that remodeling and reopening of new restaurants is that it costs a lot of money. So the last 1 or 2 years, a lot of new restaurants opened with new Asian-inspired themes, and they probably had to spend a lot of money to do remodeling, refurbishing, come up with new menus, and to open these restaurants. I know personally Halal Guys, which is a very popular restaurant where I'm at, they did humongous grand openings all throughout 2018, 2019 in my county. That costs a lot of investment, and now they have to go through this lockdown period where the money is not coming in like it used to. I will tell you for sure that overdevelopment of shopping centers, just too much remodeling, is really destroying small businesses, at least in my county. This is very common where the shopping center that a wonderful, thriving restaurant is in, they'll give the restaurant notice saying, hey, you're gonna have to close for 6 months to a year while we remodel this whole shopping center that doesn't even need to be remodeled. The paint is still fresh. The landlords want to remodel and renovate the properties so they can bring in new restaurants and charge 5 or 6 times the rent. The doomsday for restaurants is definitely here.
2, 3, Happy birthday!
Hey Chucky, it's time for the Chuck E. Cheese birthday song and dance.
This is a picture of me standing proudly outside of my claim jumper on top of some police vehicles, because we used to have a fundraiser for the police where they'd bring all their vehicles. And this is me on that day, so excited to work. And this is that restaurant today. I drove by to take a couple pictures as they were bulldozing it to the ground. My claim jumper was destroyed because the landlords said in February they're gonna close claim jumper, they're not gonna renew the lease, they're gonna tear the building to the ground and build a duplex, like 2-story of restaurants or something like that, and charge more money for the same piece of land. An example of overdevelopment destroying a small local business that gave me and a good 50 people, a living. That restaurant was there for over 30 years. It's a very old local claim jumper, Fountain Valley. Rest in peace. So we have overdevelopment, we have a change in trends, we had a lot of restaurants revamp themselves for a new style of food to meet the new customer basis that was coming in from Asia, and now they have to stop. They're not getting money after investing all this money in renovations. But now let's talk about the current catalysts, the COVID, the pandemic, the rioting that is really causing a collapse in the restaurant industry. When COVID started, about 1/3 of these restaurants that had to close their doors for a month already said they're not going to be able to reopen. Millions of people are going to be out of a job. They already are out of a job. This very weekend, my friends who still work at Claim Jumper were super excited to finally be open again. They've been closed all of April, all of May, and it's June 1st. They were so excited to at least do to-go and social distancing dine-in. And you know what? One claim jumper left in my area is at a mall, and they put police surrounding the mall. They boarded up the windows. That claim jumper could not reopen because there is a expected riot, protest, looting of that mall. After 2 months of quarantine, now they have this further hitting them in the face. Curfews, looting. A Wendy's was looted. Just while editing this video, protesters burned down a second Wendy's, this one in Atlanta. I don't blame some of these restaurants for closing if there's a chance that people are going to be throwing rocks through your windows. Why would some of these restaurants like that Wendy's, why would they repair, rebuild, reopen if they're going to be destroyed by the local people looting? Why would Wendy's go out of its way to provide you a restaurant and put the risk of having a restaurant in your neighborhood where you've already destroyed one? So these restaurants that get looted, they're probably not going to reopen. Restaurants that were really excited to reopen, now they can't because people are being violent. More time that they cannot afford to be closed. For most businesses, going 30 days without being open is completely disastrous. These have been more than 2 months shut down. How do you think the restaurant industry is going to survive after this? There's no lunch money. I just noticed today as I was driving around my local county, there's almost nobody on the road at noon, which used to be a busy lunchtime as everyone who went to work got 30 or 1 hour to go outside of their desk and go across the street and have some pizza or some poke bowl or some tacos. But now nobody's even at work. So when lunchtime happens Monday through Friday, guess what? Nobody is going across the street from their work to the local restaurants. People are just staying at home and cooking. If everyone's at home with the family, you're not getting lunch provided by your school right now. You got to cook food for you and your kids. So it makes more sense financially just to cook at home. So there's no more lunch money for restaurants, except for a couple DoorDashers and a couple people that don't like cooking who will get it for takeout. There's actually very little dinner money for these restaurants. As you know, most of them have been completely dining closed, and they've been surviving off DoorDash drivers, which DoorDash takes a 30% cut of the money from the restaurant, so they're not really profiting from these deliveries. And they get a couple takeout orders a night, but that's not enough to pull in the money places need to pay rent and to make a profit. Most of these restaurants are running skeleton crews because they're trying to make their cost as low as possible to survive. I was personally delivering dinners last night, and I had to stop at 8 p.m. because all the restaurants had signs that said closed for curfew. The McDonald's, the Taco Bell, the In-N-Out Burger, I've never seen drive-thrus even closed, but every restaurant, every grocery store was forced to close because of the protests. If there are continued and growing protests in America, especially this year, we have an election year coming up. It's going to be a political and dramatic year. But if we have more rioting, more protests, more civil unrest, these restaurants are not even going to get their dinner money. Tonight, my city is closed at 7 p.m. because of the potential for looting. Businesses aren't going to get their lunch money like they used to. I used to do catering orders. My favorite catering orders were delivering to Blizzard Entertainment. They've been one of my favorite gaming companies since I was about 12 years old. And they have all these really cool, huge statues of their characters. So I would take pictures with the orc statue or Raynor and the Probie from StarCraft. It just brought a lot of happiness into my daytime work when I got to deliver these. My catering orders would be $500 to $1,000, sometimes $1,500 worth of food. I would go pick up $1,500 worth of Rubios, and I would take it to the top floor of a corporate office. I would get a nice chunk of money for doing that catering, but Rubios also got thousands of dollars in orders. A bunch of restaurants did. My catering company has been on hold because our customers are not meeting. There's not big groups meeting together to cater for. Weddings, office meetings, all that has been put on hold. How can I cater 50 people's food if the office isn't allowing them to come to work today? So there's no lunch money, no catering money. And like I said before, dinner money has been cut real short because people are not even able to order their dinner delivered or takeout after 7 p.m. when your city goes on curfew. I can't bring DoorDash deliveries after 7 p.m. in my city. That's one of the reasons I came here to Mexico. What's the point of being in California anymore if I can't make any money there? So I've taken these little vacations down to Mexico, using the time to make videos for you guys, because I feel like that's something I can do that's positive. I can't deliver food right now except for the little gap between the curfews. It's really tragic. And I want to say that my heart goes out to you if you are a server or bartender, anyone who's been affected by this. I personally wish I could go back to Claim Jumper just part-time because it was fun. I loved it. And it made good money. And right now, I could use a little extra money. So if you want to help me out, please smash the like button. I can't even go back to my old restaurant and work because it's not there anymore. Times are changing. They're not even allowed to be fully open. So imagine this going across many restaurants nationwide, and we see not just a restaurant apocalypse, but we are currently in the restaurant doomsday. I don't know how most of these restaurants will recover. I can imagine a few surviving, like Chipotle, perhaps McDonald's, restaurants that have been able to run skeleton crew while really harnessing the takeout and the delivery aspect of business. But the longer this goes on, the more stress will be put on restaurants and the more of them will fail. Souplantation is completely gone. I had to risk getting arrested today because I stopped in my Souplantation parking lot to take pictures of what it looks like right now. Empty restaurant, chairs, tables completely empty. All the serving equipment is still there, but it's just sitting with plastic bags over it. This Souplantation was my dad's favorite place to take his kids because he got discounts. He was a member of their frequent eaters club. That Souplantation's gone. All the people who worked there, unemployed. People like my dad who were loyal customers of Souplantation, their hearts are broken. It's going to be a very difficult time for those of us in restaurant industry going forward. I wish you all the best of luck. I hope we find a way through this and that we can make it out okay on the other side of this restaurant doomsday. If you enjoyed this video, you found it informative or entertaining, please help me out by smashing the like button. Go ahead and subscribe. I do make videos all the time. Feel free to leave me a comment, tell me what you think, or go ahead and share this video if you have a server friend who's going through job losses right now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck out there, and just have a great day.